Welcome to Buzz on Veterans. I'm your host, Chris Budihas, and joining me virtually is Jonathan Grimm with Squarehead Technology. Jonathan, how are you?
Good, sir. How are you doing, Chris?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Hey, thanks for joining us. So, man, you have had a long post-military career. A lot of things you've been doing. So what I'd like to do first is, tell us about where you're from and what you do initially in the military and what are you doing now in the reserves or in the Guard?
So I grew up in central Arizona, in the Prescott area. Joined the Marine Corps in 2002. Did crash fire rescue 7051 for 4 years. Got out, joined the Arizona Air National Guard, wound up as a Predator sensor operator, then transferred over to the MQ-9 Reaper. And now I do imagery analysts for the Arkansas Air National Guard at the 188th Wing out in Fort Smith.
Well, great. Well, hey, thanks for your service. So in your post-military civilian career, you kind of done a number of jobs that have led you here to Squarehead Technology. Can you tell us a little bit about what was that journey like and what does Squarehead Technology do?
Well, it was a pretty wild journey. I got into counter UAS in 2020 after leaving an intel job at Hurlburt Field. And what Squarehead Technology does is acoustic sensors. So we have 3 divisions. We have our surveillance division that does law enforcement and various 3-letter agencies. We have the defense division, which I'm a part of, which is focused on counter UAS and acoustic detection of whatever the customer requests in the battle space, in this case, counter UAS specifically.
Yeah.
And then the industrial division does industrial monitoring. So in one case, we have an acoustic array perched on the back of a Boston Dynamic dog that runs around an oil rig and just listens to machinery for faults. So it does preventive maintenance screening.
Wow, that's interesting. So how long has the company been around, and are you seeing a lot of evolution in the space and acoustics in the use both in the civilian and I'd call it the military sectors?
Yeah, Squarehead Technology has been around for 20 years. They started back in 2004. The lady that started it graduated with a master's degree in acoustic engineering and got their start, kind of took a cue from the underwater microphone arrays that people were using for sonar and said, hey, we could do some of this stuff above the water rather than just like a shotgun mic. So
yeah,
these are acoustic arrays. They have multiple microphones, anywhere from 50 on the low end to 156 on the high end. And they're placed into a panel, usually a square or rectangle. Our defense product is a hexagon, and it allows us to do some very interesting things with sound reception. Couldn't normally do with just a directional parabolic mic.
Yeah. What's the secret sauce? Is it the software, the hardware, or is it just a combination of both?
It's a combination of both. It's the hardware. We're working on getting the best microphones we can, and then the secret sauce is really assembling the array. The engineers work very hard to place each microphone in a proper position so that it works efficiently with all of its counterparts. And then on the back end of that is the processing, taking that raw data and turning it into something that's usable for the consumer.
I got to imagine, Jonathan, that this space is continuing to, the demand is going to be high in the future compared to where it's at now.
Where we have seen a huge pickup in demand over the last year and a half, a lot of it is being driven by the conflict in Eastern Europe and Ukraine. And what they have started to do is something, they have taken just regular cell phones, parked them on a pole or a stick, and turned the microphones on, and now they've been listening for these incoming attack drones and missiles stuff like that.
Mm.
Our array, one of our arrays is worth about probably 100 of those in place. Each of our defense arrays has 128 microphones in it. So,
wow.
And the processing power is much, much greater than a cell phone. So that kind of cued a lot of people in. We've been in the counter UAS space since 2018 when we got started. Did some testing with the DoD, and they're like, well, that's cool. Come back when it's better. So we've basically been getting better over the last 6 years, iterating through the process. And now we've got a situation where in a test recently with Fordham Technology, we were able to launch their effector just using the passive acoustic sensors.
That's interesting. Yeah, no doubt. You know, as this aerial space we're operating in, we've seen it obviously in the Ukraine, in Russia, but also in Israel and Gaza, and also when I spent some time on the southwest border, seeing use of drones by cartels down on the border too. So, yeah, no doubt, Squarehead technology will be part of the solution here.
We're working on it. We do have partners at DHS. They do have some of our surveillance products. We're working on figuring out the best way to support them against the drone incursions at the southern border. We're also looking at places in Central and South America where this technology is proliferating and helping them. And then working with agencies outside the DoD, so Department of State, what have you, for counter UAS in areas that don't get a lot of focus but are still hotbeds of activity, particularly places in the Asian subcontinent like Myanmar. Is really taken off. There's a lot of companies in India are starting to make some big moves in the UAS space. So the need for the technology is exponentially growing.
That's great. Well, hey, Jonathan, thank you very much for your service. We appreciate what you've done for the nation and what you're doing now. And thanks for coming on here. Hey, folks, if you like what you heard, continue to share us and connect with us on LinkedIn. A lot of things going on in our veteran space and their post-military careers. And we'll see you at our next segment.
Operation Barnabas is a veterans ministry, started in 2017 with the purpose of helping our veterans that kind of got left behind, and they've struggled with addictions, PTSD, suicidal thoughts, those kind of things, helping them get whole again through one-to-one mentorship.
Being able to communicate with them and help them can drastically change their life, can drastically change a family's life. The little that we can do is put our hand out and say, hey, do you want a hand up?